All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to EdCamp, the P3 EdCamp. Always exciting and fun time of the year, and lots of great learning opportunities. And you're in breakout room 8, just so that you're aware, and hopefully you're in the right room. But it's feedback and coaching for continuous improvement. I'm Todd Davis. I'm the director of Ed Prep and Certification at KDE/EPSB. And I'm serving as the host today. So if you've got questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if Kevin is comfortable with it, if you want to just speak up, it's however you want to do it, Kevin. But I will monitor the chat during the session, and then let you know when you got about a couple minutes left, kind of wrap up. So Kevin Bandura is with us this morning. He has served 30 plus years in education. He's taught at middle school and high school, and teaching math, and he's served as an instructional specialist, and an education recovery leader, and a director of curriculum and instruction and assessment in Frankfort Independent Schools. So at this time, I will allow Kevin to do what he's going to do this morning. So welcome, Kevin.
Appreciate it, Todd. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Looks like many of you are in locations that are not in schools. You're on NTI today, and we're in school. We actually had an hour delay, so had to find a place that I could hold up that was quiet. So appreciate you all joining me this morning. And yeah, as Todd mentioned, this is the feedback and coaching for continuous improvement session. So we'll go ahead and get started. So our learning intentions, I really want to kind of share our philosophy and the details of our system that we use to provide feedback and coaching for our teachers. And, one of the things
coming back to the main,
I think it
like breakout rooms.
I think it kicked out, Keith.
Yeah, it kicked me
I
out.
was in a breakout room and it just kicked me back.
Here we go.
Here as well.
They closed.
They were set on a timer.
Yeah, I was going to say it said that in 4 seconds you'd be kicked out. So it sounds like there was a timer set.
okay. We'll try that again.
Now I'm being asked to join a room.
Okay. I wonder if a co-host is messing around with that stuff.
I think they'll probably have to just join the original room they joined.
Yes,
Again.
I think.
It says
Keith,
again that
Todd.
they're about to close in 53 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to close again.
Right.
And it's not even giving me an option to get back into mine.
Keith, it's kicking everyone out of the breakout rooms again.
Yeah, I think that one of the co-hosts might have messed up the session, the breakout rooms. So I need to reset them. So here in 15 seconds, they're all going to close again, and I'll reset them and send everybody back where you can choose your breakout room space again.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. All right. 12 breakout rooms. Let people choose options. They will close after.
Yeah, maybe put no time on it. Don't.
Yeah, there's not a time. Counter 30 seconds. All right. All right, everybody. I'm going to open all the rooms again, and we'll try this one more time. I apologize for the technical difficulties. So everyone should be able to now join your room again, the room that you want to go to for breakout session 1.
my philosophy in building this system, Thoughtful Classroom. If you're not familiar with Thoughtful Classroom, they provide a lot of instructional tools and also a very nice, robust system for observing. And then the Rutherford Learning Group. And if you're not familiar with Mike Rutherford and his work, it's one that I would suggest digging into as well from a coaching tools perspective. And so on the slideshow that I've attached to there, there's a couple links there to kind of go to those people as well. So our mission for feedback and coaching is to attract and develop and retain the best teachers. And that's it. We're just trying to keep people, we're trying to build them up, and we're trying to attract teachers to our district. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to think about this question. And again, with I'm a fanboy of Mike Rutherford, and with a nod to him, I ask you this question. Statistically speaking, at what age or life stage do people exhibit the best driving habits and skills? And if you don't mind, just drop an answer in the chat. Or if you prefer, if you want to unmute your mic and ask that question or answer that question as well, we'll accept that. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to think about that and drop some answers. Could be age ranges. It could be life stages. See lots of ages in here.
Keith, I'm not sure if you're aware, there were several of us that got kicked out early on, so they've been rejoining. So
that's
we
fine.
should be good to go right now. So
I appreciate it. All right, I see a lot of answers. There's the one I'm looking for. Close to what I'm looking for. One thing I noticed about this range of answers, if you notice, nobody put 16. Right, we're not our best driver when we first begin driving. I also notice no one put in their 80s or 90s. So, obviously we're not our best driver at the very beginning when we first learn how to drive. And at the end, and again, I'm thinking stereotypically, not every case, but by and large, as we get older, we start to lose some of our abilities, reaction times, and so forth. So some of you are dancing around the answer, and the answer really is when you have a teenage driver. That's when, statistically speaking, you are at your best. And so thinking about that answer, the question is why? Why are we better drivers when we have teenage drivers in the car with us? And the answer is we know we're being observed. We're trying to teach them how to drive. And suddenly we begin to find our blinkers again. We begin to provide better stopping distance. We tend to not race through yellow lights because we're trying to pass along good driving habits to our teenage drivers. So I got to thinking about this fact. So if that's true about driving, then what does that say for teachers? When are they at their best? And so they're not going to be at their best if we just leave them alone. They're also not going to be at their best if we don't provide any kind of feedback or coaching along the way. So we implemented a 30-second feedback system. And again, tip of the cap to Mike Rutherford and the 30-second feedback system. So basically what it is, it's a system that delivers a short but meaningful bit of positive reinforcement on a brief classroom visit. We're trying to affirm what teachers are doing well, and we're trying to build on their strengths. And so the way that this works is you go into a classroom, and then either after the visit, either electronically, which is what we do, or face-to-face, you provide feedback. And the feedback goes something like this. Thanks a lot for letting me in your classroom. I really enjoyed being in here. So that's the cushion. And then identify a particular teaching move that was an instance of success for that teacher, and be specific. When you did blank, or when you paused and you allowed your students to really think, and then you called on a couple of students, what you did was you allowed your students to, all of them, have to think deeply about that question before getting any kind of response. And it really helps your students who are not necessarily the quickest thinkers, but oftentimes they have the most insightful answers. And you provided an opportunity for them to think and share. Well done. Keep doing that. And so that's the whole idea of the 30-second feedback. What did they do well? What impact did it have on students? And then you move on. That's why it's called 30-second feedback. The interaction is one way and it only takes 30 seconds. We do that through emails and through a system of automated emails. So would like to just highlight as well, from when we started this system back in December of 22, all the way through late April of 23, we have 13 teams, a 13-person team in our district. We were able to visit almost 600 classrooms in that time. So that's an average of 7.7 instructional touches per day that our teachers were getting. So it's anchored in thoughtful classroom. And this is the language that we provide. We focused our 30-second feedback walkthroughs on the 4 cornerstones, and you can see those listed there: organization, rules, and procedures. In other words, there are teacher indicators there that show how well does a teacher set up their classroom with organizational procedures, rules, and how do they keep things flowing within the classroom. Cornerstone 2, positive relationships. We all know how important that is in the classroom, and thoughtful classroom outlines teacher indicators that describe what those positive relationships look like. Cornerstone 3, as I work my way clockwise around this box, engagement and enjoyment. And cornerstone 4, a culture of thinking and learning. So we spent that first time period from December to April last year of building on teacher strengths. Let me share my screen. Sorry, thank you. I think I shared it at one time before I got kicked out. So let me try to share it again. Okay, better? All right, thank you for that feedback. So again, these 4 cornerstones really revolve around how teachers set up their classroom, how they engage students, and how they create culture of thinking and learning within their classroom. So we spent that first time period from December of 22 to April of 23, really providing feedback and having discussions centered around these things. So in our system, when we fill out a Google form, and through the magic of Autocrat, which is a lot like mail merge, through the magic of Autocrat, when we hit submit, it automatically sends an email and a certificate to our teachers. So the nice thing about the system is the feedback that they get is specific, because we are identifying a particular instance of good teaching and telling the impact that it has on students. And that's one thing I've noticed about all teachers. Every teacher wants to be good, and providing them with a little pat on the back with what they naturally do well and connect it to the impact that it has on students is a really powerful combination. It's immediate because once we hit submit, that email is sent and that certificate is attached. So this system allows us to get in, spend maybe 7 to 10 minutes in a classroom, fill out a brief Google form, and then hit submit, and that feedback is provided. Now, when possible, we try to follow up in person, but if we're not able to because of time, we're gonna know that we've delivered some specific and immediate feedback to our teachers. All right, so what's the impact of that? Well, if we tell teachers what they're doing well and the impact that it has on students, they're more likely to continue that behavior, which is what we want. If they're doing something well, keep it up. It also provides an opportunity, more opportunities for administrators to be in classrooms. And we know how important it is for our students and our staff to see us engaged in classrooms. And it also keeps us in touch with what it's like to be a teacher. And I think that's a critical component. And sometimes, I don't know about you all, but you may have had administrators before that you felt like sat in their office and fired off emails, and this gets you out into the classrooms. And it just builds that culture of trust, positivity, and transparency. So we spend a lot of time with our 30-second feedback system to get into classrooms, to make our classroom doors more open, available, students seeing us in there, and providing that feedback to teachers to help them replicate good teacher moves. Phase 2. So my next question, does more practice driving always correlate to becoming a better driver? So I'll give you a minute if anyone would like to unmute and answer, or you can drop answers in the chat. And there again, there's your question. Does more practice driving always correlate to becoming a better driver? All right, there's an answer here that I would really like to highlight. Well, let me back up. An answer I'd really like to highlight here says, not always, but like with free throws, the better, with more practice, you get better. And then there's a response to that. If you're practicing the wrong way daily, I know we always say things like practice makes permanent, actually, or practice makes perfect. Actually, practice makes permanent. And so if we're not practicing well and we're practicing an incorrect way to do something, all we're doing is getting better at being bad at something. And I'll give you an example of my own life. There was a little over a year that when I was an education recovery leader, that I was spending an hour and 40 minutes one way driving to my school in Jefferson County. Well, 3+ hours in the vehicle driving didn't make me a better driver. It just made me drive more. So at my age and my driving experience, just driving doesn't correlate to me becoming a better driver. Connect that to our teachers, our experienced teachers. Just because they've taught for a long time, teaching every day by itself doesn't make them a better teacher. We've all walked into classrooms where we've had teachers who have been in the classroom for a very long time, and they're doing the same things that they did 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years ago. And we all know that things have changed and we all need growth. So just because they're doing it doesn't mean they're becoming better. So they need feedback and coaching. So now we've shifted away, not necessarily away from those 4 cornerstones. And again, this is a diagram from Thoughtful Classroom. And you'll notice the white boxes in the corners are those 4 cornerstones. We've now shifted our focus to the 5 episodes of effective instruction. And that's that green plus sign in the middle. And again, this is all available on a link that I provided, that if you want to investigate this as an instructional framework from Thoughtful Classroom. And so you can see what Thoughtful Classroom has, through research, shown. These are things that happen in successful classrooms. So we're moving away in our coaching and feedback system from the 30-second feedback, only positive, only strength building on those 4 cornerstones. And now we're moving into deeper discussions about instruction. We have decided to focus right now on episode 5, which is preparing students for new learning. And you can see here, there are 8 teacher indicators that align with this 5th episode. Now, it's episode 5, like Star Wars. It's not the beginning, but it is the beginning. You had the 4 cornerstones, and this is really the first box in this framework that relates to instruction. So preparing students for new learning, you can see a few of those. Establishing clear learning goals, posing essential questions, and then down below, key vocabulary, assessing background knowledge and skills. Now, what we've said, every lesson will not include all 8 of these indicators, but every lesson should include, at least at the very beginning, if not throughout, times when you circle back and you have to prepare students for this new episode of learning. Oftentimes in a classroom, we have teachers that launch an activity. They go over the agenda and they say, all right, now here's what I want you to do. But this is really focused on, how do we prepare them for new learning? Much like a farmer plants a seed, if you just dig a hole and throw a seed in and cover it up with dirt, you might get growth. But we all know that preparing that soil gives you a much better chance for that seed to grow. So our new visits, our new form, we provide evidence of what was happening in the classroom. And I'll show you here in a minute what an example looks like. So while we're observing, we're recording evidence of what we see happening in the classroom. What is the teacher doing? What are the students doing? If appropriate, and if good teacher moves exist that relate to episode 5, We praise that. We want teachers, if we see something being done well, we want to encourage them to keep doing that. We provide questions for reflection and opportunities for follow-up coaching conversations. And our form also allows us to leave some information for those admin and coaches as they follow up with coaching cycles. So we've shifted away from just one thing, here's what you're doing well, keep it up, to we're now focused on episode 5. We're looking for specific evidence of how teachers are preparing students for new learning. And we're giving them questions for reflection, things to think about. So here's some of the results that we had. So our version 1.0, which we started in November and went through the middle of December up until Christmas break. And these were the results we got over the district. We were able to get into 90 classrooms, and we were able to kind of collect some background data or some baseline data about what are our teachers doing, at what level are they preparing students for new learning. And we designated level 1 that they weren't doing anything. Level 2, the teacher's doing a lot of the work, but few of the students are really engaged in thinking. And then we designated level 3 to be the teacher's actions really force the students to engage in that content and do some deeper thinking. You can see our results here. Most of our teachers, a lot of our teachers are living in level 2 in our district. It makes sense. You've seen it over and over again as you do walkthroughs. Teachers are doing a lot of the work. Students are doing a lot of sitting and receiving. And we want to encourage our teachers to do things to help to make kids do the work. So this is an example of the feedback that our teachers will get once we complete this form. So again, we go into a classroom at the beginning of class. We're looking for one of those 8 teacher indicators, and you can see those bolded there. When we see evidence of that, we provide feedback. So down below is a narrative that our team is creating. The first paragraph talks about what was going on in the classroom. How did the teacher open up the class? What were the students doing? We also made a connection in the second paragraph, a very overt connection to one of those teacher indicators. In other words, here's what you did. Here's how it connects to one of those indicators. And it was done pretty well. So we gave them a little bit of praise here. Keep finding these opportunities to support students in preparing for products and performances in diverse ways. We want to be very clear. You did this well. This is something we want you to replicate. And then at the very bottom is a question for reflection. Now, the way we're crafting the narrative is we're trying to avoid telling a teacher, here's what you should do. We just want to pose a question so that teachers on any level can really reflect on their own practice, which is really what we want them to do. I mean, we can't be in every classroom and tell teachers, here's what you should have done. It's probably not going to go well anyway. But if we ask a question and we rely on teachers to think back into their practice and really think about the craft of teaching, we're going to provide opportunities for them to grow, and hopefully they'll be able to replicate that even without us in there. And so again, we posed a question here. How can you give space during your launch of class for students to demonstrate that they are doing the thinking? And the hope is that the teacher can look back at that evidence and say, you know, I did a lot of the talking there. How can I get my students to do some of the thinking, and what are some ways to do that? All of our evidence now gets collected into this Looker Studio. And so all of our team members have access to this. And there's a couple of features here that I really like. You can see down at the bottom, we've got the date. I've blacked out teacher names, but those 2 columns represent what the evidence that was collected. And then that second column are what we're calling general observations. These are notes that the observer can drop into this that don't go directly to the teacher. And so this is really information for the coaching. And as a coach can look at this, they can look at an observation that somebody else did, and then they can say, oh, this is what would take it to the next level. And they can use that information in their coaching. We're also able to see top right-hand corner, total number of observations. That's a low number right now because we've just recently shifted over to this new version. How are our teachers doing with in terms of levels? Again, remember, level 1 is the teacher's not doing anything to prepare students for new learning. Level 2, that teacher is doing something, but not necessarily, the kids don't necessarily have to react to that. And then level 3 is where the teacher action directly influences student engaging into the content. And then another really nice feature of this, in the upper left-hand corner, there's a teacher drop down where you can go in and you can only look at 2 or 3 teachers at a time. For example, if you wanted to look at the math department all together and their levels, or if you want to look at an individual teacher, once we've built a bigger catalog of teacher observations, they will have been observed 3 or 4 or 5 times before we get in there. And an observer could go and look at previous observations and kind of get a feel for what's been going on. So circling back to the beginning, I know I've gone very quick here. I'm not really even sure what kind of time frame we're on since things were running late.
We've got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm giving you a little bit longer. We've got 10 minutes in between. So with all the issues, I'm giving you a couple more minutes.
Perfect. Thanks. I appreciate it, Todd. So there's our mission. Again, we're trying to attract and develop and retain the best teachers. Again, if you're interested in this, check out Thoughtful Classroom and check out the Rutherford Learning Group. Those links are there. Those have really influenced and inspired us to create this system. And again, I'm hopeful that you've taken something from this, you've thought about your philosophy of feedback and coaching, and are thinking about implementing some kind of system. If you'd like to contact me for further information, I am certainly available. My email is there, and I hope you have access to the slideshow. And again, I feel like I have just fire hosed on everyone, and I hope it has resonated with you in some way, and certainly reach out if you'd like further explanation or assistance with setting up a system.
Well, thanks, Keith. Sorry, I was having some technical issues myself. A screen pop up that I couldn't get rid of. So greatly appreciate Keith joining us this morning. And this is the continuous improvement and the approach that I've given teachers feedback and so forth. It's just such a critical piece that I feel like administrators need, but more so our teachers need. So greatly appreciate this. This will be provided as a recording once everything wraps up, and it'll be posted on the schedule, I believe is how Keith plans to follow up on that. So again, appreciate everybody this morning, and hope the day works out great for you.
See you all. Have a great day.